Okay, ladies and gentlemen, good day all. So in this video, we are going to look at the concept of endoplasmic reticulum of a cell. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and join my YouTube community for more videos. So now, introduction to the endoplasmic reticulum. What is endoplasmic reticulum? Endoplasmic reticulum is one of the vital cellular organelles that is involved in protein and lipid synthesis. Remember that in the cells there are billions of reactions that are taking place in every minute, and some of these reactions are controlled by the proteins, like enzymes, because enzymes are protein. So the synthesis of this protein and the lipid are taking place in endoplasmic reticulum of the cell. So you should understand that by this, because lipid also at the same time it has so many cellular functions, starting from energy generation, starting with maintaining the structural architecture of a cell. Lipids are involved in doing that because the cell membrane is made up of a lipids and a protein. So these proteins and lipids, they are synthesized in the endoplasmic reticulum of a cell. That is why it's considered as a vital cellular organelle. And very importantly, this endoplasmic reticulum is of two types. We have two types, or it exists in two forms. We have rough endoplasmic reticulum and smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And these two different forms of endoplasmic reticulum, they have distinct functions, meaning that they have different functions. They do not serve the same function in a cell. So actually in this video, we are going to look at the different functions of these two forms of endoplasmic reticulum. So you should understand that the endoplasmic reticulum, it plays a crucial role in maintaining cellular homeostasis and also facilitating intracellular transport. Because in this smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it also involved in the transportation of some biomolecules or substances from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum itself to Golgi body and other organelles of the cell. And also at the same time, because at the same time endoplasmic reticulum is sequestered calcium, or it holds calcium, is also part of the cell where calcium are found. So it also tries to maintain the homeostasis of the cellular calcium in order to prevent cellular injury as well as a cellular death. So it is very actually important in maintaining cellular homeostasis, that is regulation of the cellular internal environment, as well as the transportation of substances across the cell. So as we can see, this is actually the cell. As we can see from here, this is a cell. This is an entire cell. And as we can see from this entire cell, we have endoplasmic reticulum here. This is where we have endoplasmic reticulum. And of course, in the case of rough endoplasmic reticulum, because here specifically it is actually rough endoplasmic reticulum. And as you can see from here, in this rough endoplasmic reticulum, it has ribosomes attached to it. There are ribosomes attached to it. So because of this ribosomes is attached to endoplasmic reticulum, that is why it is called rough endoplasmic reticulum. And in fact, this is what even makes rough endoplasmic reticulum differ from smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So in the case of rough endoplasmic reticulum, it has ribosomes attached to it, while smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it doesn't have ribosomes attached to it, as we can see here. This is where we have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and there is no such of those ribosomes attached to it. So now, the next thing that we are going to look at, of course, is okay, so now let's look at the structure of the endoplasmic reticulum. So the endoplasmic reticulum, as we can see, is actually a network of interconnected membrane tubules and sacs which are called cristae. So if you look at the endoplasmic reticulum, it is interconnected with membranous tubules and sacs, and those interconnected membranous tubules and sacs, they are called cristae. And in the case of raw endoplasmic reticulum, is studded with the ribosomes on its surface. So because it has its two ribosomes attached to the surface of the endoplasmic reticulum, that is why it is called raw endoplasmic reticulum, and it makes it different from the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And these ribosomes that attach to it, it gives it a textured appearance. And of course, in the case of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it, it lacks ribosome. So it doesn't have a ribosome and is more tubular, and it's involved in lipids, metabolism, and detoxification. So the detoxification of the drugs as well as the metabolism of the drugs are known to take place in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So all drugs that we are taking is detoxified and metabolized in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And also at the same time, the lipid metabolism is known to take place in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So this is actually what we need to know about smooth endoplasmic reticulum. First, it lacks ribosomes and it is more tubular. And also, the major function is involved in lipid metabolism as well as drugs metabolism and detoxification. So now let's look at the structure, of course. As you can see here, the ribosomes, it has an interconnected membranous tubules and sacs, and that is why it is called cristae. So this is actually a crystal species that are found. And of course, in the case of the endoplasmic reticulum, it has ribosomes attached to it. So that is why, because it has ribosomes attached to it, and that is why it is called rough endoplasmic reticulum. And of course, in the case of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it doesn't have ribosome, and that is why it is called smooth endoplasmic reticulum. So now let's look at the functions of the endoplasmic reticulum. So the raw endoplasmic reticulum synthesizes and processes proteins destined for secretion or for use in cell membrane. So actually, ladies and gentlemen, what you need to know here is that in the case of raw endoplasmic reticulum, it involved in the synthesis and protein processing. So it synthesizes protein, and also at the same time it processes the proteins which is ready for secretion or use in cell membrane. And of course, in the case of smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it involved in the synthesis of lipids, phospholipids, and steroids. So the synthesis of lipids and phospholipid as well as the steroids are known to take place in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. And then also very importantly, at the same time, it also involves in detoxification of harmful substances like drugs, and it's also where metabolism of drugs takes place. Then the next thing is, of course, the ER also plays a role in calcium storage and regulation. So the storage of the calcium as well as the regulation of calcium is controlled in the endoplasmic reticulum within the cell. And of course here, let's see some of the basic differences between the smooth and the rough endoplasmic reticulum. So in the case of surface structure, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it lacks ribosomes. So that is why it has smooth appearance. While of course, in the case of rough endoplasmic reticulum, it's covered with a ribosomes, and that is why it has rough appearance. The main function of the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is involved in the synthesis of lipids, metabolism of carbohydrate, and then detoxification of harmful substances. And of course, in the case of main function of the raw endoplasmic reticulum, it involves in protein synthesis and protein folding. And then ribosomes attached. So no ribosomes attached to the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, while of course ribosomes are attached in the rough endoplasmic reticulum. That is why it involves in protein synthesis and folding. Then the structure the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it has a tubular networks, while in the case of rope, it has a platen sacs, which is called cristae. So it means that there is a cristae in the rope, in the plasmic reticulum, while there is no cristae in the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. It only has a tubular networks. Location in a cell. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is near the cell membrane or dispersed in cytoplasm, while for the rough endoplasmic reticulum, it surrounds the nucleus forming a network. The storage and the role in calcium storage, smooth endoplasmic reticulum is considered as a major reservoir for calcium ions, while the rough endoplasmic reticulum does not store calcium. Then association with organelles, it interacts with Golgi apparatus and the mitochondria. So it means that smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it has connected or interacted with Golgi apparatus and mitochondria of the cell, while in the case of rope, it associated with the nucleus and Golgi apparatus. Then for the enzymatic content, enzymes in smooth endoplasmic reticulum are the major enzymes for lipid and steroid hormones synthesis, while in the case of rough endoplasmic reticulum, it lacks lipid synthesizing enzymes. Then the present cell, actually smooth endoplasmic reticulum is predominant in cells involved in lipid metabolism, while the rough is actually predominant in cells with high protein synthesis. Then product transport. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is actually involved in the transport of lipids to other parts or outside the cell, while of course for the rough endoplasmic reticulum, it sends proteins to Golgi apparatus via vesicles. Then response to stress. There is less involved in stress response in the case of smooth, while rough endoplasmic reticulum, it produces stress proteins. Appearance under microscope. So under microscope, smooth endoplasmic reticulum is appears as mesh-like network in electron micrographs, while in the case of rope, it appears as stacks of platin plate with ribosomes. So then, of course, the next thing is endoplasmic reticulum and cellular health. Proper functioning of the endoplasmic reticulum is essential for protein folding and quality control. So the protein folding and quality control is actually one of the major function of the endoplasmic reticulum. And then the next one, the ER, endoplasmic reticulum stress response, helps to cell manage misfolded proteins and maintain homeostasis. Because one thing is actually the endoplasmic reticulum, it is very important in response to stress, and that response to stress is help the cells to manage the misfolded proteins and also maintain cellular homeostasis. And then the dysfunction of the ER is linked to various diseases, including neurodegeneration and metabolic disorders. So actually, when there is a failure of endoplasmic reticulum, it can actually lead to neurodegeneration as well as metabolic disorder. So these are some of the consequences associated with endoplasmic reticulum. So in conclusion and significance, the endoplasmic reticulum is a multifunctional organelle that is critical for cell survival and function. Its dynamic structures allows it to adapt to the cell's changing need. So understanding ER biology is essential for developing treatment for many diseases related to cellular dysfunction. So ladies and gentlemen, this is why I'm going to stop. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, and join to my YouTube community for more videos. See you next. This is where we are going to stop.